I was so scared. Like, I remember calling my friends, and at one point we started to rent this little trailer that was down this street. It was a dead-end street. It was just my friend's family, my best friend growing up. And they built through the dead end. They cleared out some land and built a house and put a little 2-bedroom trailer, or 1 bedroom, I think. No, it was 2. And they rented that out for like $300 a month or something. So I rented that for a month. They had like a woods around it, but I was still only 2 houses away from my best friend. But I still was so scared that like I would call her, and I'm in her driveway, just in the car, and I'm thinking, can I please just come inside and sleep on the floor?
Well, it was just scary. I mean, it was just you. You were 23 years old. Like, think about how young that is. You're by yourself. You're confused. You're lost. You don't know what to do. You feel like you're alone. You are alone. You know, it's just me and you. And, I mean, that's understanding that that's a really difficult time. And, like, you even having the composure you did at the time to make me feel safe is, like, you know this. I always say this, you know? When I was that young, every memory I have from him is like, from that time is like great. Like, I'm like, I was so happy. I was having so much fun. Like,
it was fun.
You know, it was so much fun. Like, I remember living with our friends. That was so great to me. Like, it was never a problem for me to think in my head, oh my God, where's my dad? Why don't
we're struggling.
Yeah, we're struggling. We have problems. I didn't even think about that stuff because we were with people that loved us and we loved them. Hey y'all, it's Addison Ray.
And Sheri.
Welcome to our podcast, Mama Knows Best, a Parcast original. Every week we'll explore the touchy subjects of love, dating, relationships, and growing up.
And I always know best.
Or do you? And just a friendly reminder, you can find episodes of Mama Knows Best for free, exclusively on Spotify.
Remember to follow the podcast so you never miss a brand new episode every week.
I decided to do a podcast with my mom because I thought it would be really interesting to have a mother and a daughter perspective on different topics and subjects and kind of just let you guys see a different part of me and my mom and our life. For our very first episode, we're going to talk about my upbringing and kind of how I got here. I think this is a super important episode because it's going to kind of let everyone see or hear things about me that they didn't ever know, and kind of just let people see a little bit more into my life before I moved to LA and before I became known. Let's get into it. After I was born, you had just turned 21. I was born, and you and Dad were, like, dating, kind of on and off, so on and so forth. You guys ended up getting married January 4th of 2003. I just remember that because Dad says 143, which is so cool, right? 143 means I love you.
And the story behind that is, growing up, we had beepers, and when you had a beeper, you could message someone 143, which meant I love you.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a code you could send someone because you didn't have a cell phone. So you'd send someone a number code.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you guys obviously ended up getting a divorce, let's say nearly a year after. And then you were a single mom for a good few years, yeah?
Yes.
And then from about 3 to 6 for me, I mean, like, everything around that was a little blurry, but for 3 to 6, I know Dad wasn't really in my life very much. It just, I mean, I'm sure that was, you know, personal decisions on your part with Dad, you know, like, you guys, I'm sure, kind of established that, like, hey, we're going to need some space, you know, like, we need to have our time to figure things out.
You know, he did come around a little every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
We did do that.
Yeah.
But not a lot.
My mom and I lived in Rain, which is a really small town that my mom was born and raised in, and my entire family is actually pretty much born there, right?
Right.
Everyone in our family generations had just been born there, lived there, from there. And then I do remember when we lived in Rain that you had a store called Deja Vu on the boulevard, which was some fun memories. How did you get into that? Like, how did you get into retail? I didn't ever know that. Like, obviously I knew you had Deja Vu and Cha Cha Charms, but like, I never knew your process into getting into that, or like, what?
Right. Well, whenever I was in Texas and your dad and I split up, I went to resale shops, consignment shops, and I became friends with the owner and interested in how she ran her business, and it was very interesting for me. So whenever we did move back to Louisiana, I really wanted to open up my own business, and so Paul, your grandfather, was okay with helping me to do that. So
Gotcha. So Papa helped you kind of get into the retail?
Yes. I wanted to have something for myself also that I could provide for you for.
Gotcha. I'm sure you loved the side of that, like the retail side of it, the shopping, the consignment, like stuff like that. But obviously that was like a huge part of it, was because you wanted to have a job that was stable, right, that you could have to provide.
Yeah. Because I previously worked in a veterinarian office, which I did enjoy as well, but I also really loved the consignment store.
Gotcha. So not only was it like fun, but you also did it to provide for us.
Yes.
We were just you and I, whatever happened to Cha Cha Charms? Like, what Deja Vu and Cha Cha Charms were
because it was like there were so many of those, and it was really hard to make it and, survive paying rent and
making
sales
that, yeah,
and being a single mom.
Gotcha. And yeah, I'm sure it was, you brought me to work with you all the time.
Yeah.
I remember that's where I remember being all the time, was at your work with you. So like, obviously, with moving and being a single mom at the time, like, how did you keep going? Like, what was the motivation to just like not give up? Like, obviously, if, your businesses were failing or like not doing well, like what you were trying to do to provide, like how do you keep going with that?
For me personally, I never felt like a failure just because my business didn't work out. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel that way inside. I felt like it's okay. Just do something else, figure something else out. It's a big deal, but it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not the end of you. You're going to be okay.
Yeah. Which I feel like also with that, like, you didn't want to give up. Like, because you knew that you just were going to make it work,
Right. I wasn't going to give up. And so I was going to try something else. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to try something else to make it work.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did, Mom, because we had some pretty fun times, though. You did bring me to a Cheetah Girls concert. So my 6th birthday, my golden birthday, we went to a Cheetah Girls concert. We lived in that house. That really small house. We lived in that house. We went to the Cheetah Girls concert. I remember you and Miss Rochelle did our nails. You did stick-on fake nails for me and all my friends. So literally, my parents started seeing each other again when I was 6 years old. Within a few months after that, my mom got pregnant again.
Yeah.
You had 9 months to be pregnant, correct? Then during those 9 months, it was like, you and Dad were on and off again.
Yeah.
So she got pregnant almost right after they tried to work things out again. So when I was 6, she gets pregnant right when he comes back into my life. Then while she's pregnant, it's just still not working. It's still a struggle.
It was working for a little bit.
It was working for a tiny bit during the pregnancy, but then it stopped working.
Yeah.
It just got confusing again. We were struggling really bad to figure out what to do.
So yeah, there were definitely moments where it was either my way or the highway, in which a lot of times it was the highway.
So Dad chose the highway. A lot of times. Yeah.
Yes.
And
then the highway led back to me sometimes.
Aww, we love to see it. The highway would lead back to you, in which in turn would lead back to the highway sometimes.
Yeah.
Probably a year after Enzo was born. We lived in an RV. Luckily, my dad worked in the trailer business, and they also had a brother business with like a RV. So
they owned an RV lot. They had just opened up an RV business.
So we luckily could afford to get an RV. get an RV.
Well,
we like didn't even, it wasn't even
we
ours.
didn't pay for it. No, they let us.
They let us use it because we didn't have anywhere to live. We lived in an RV on an RV like campground lot.
Yeah,
that's where we lived, even though you just rented. We lived there. It was so hard to shower in an RV. It was so hard to shower in a camper.
Yeah,
it wasn't an RV.
Horrible.
It was not an RV because RVs are like super luxurious.
This was like a pool,
like a camper. Like you pulled it on the back of your truck, and like it had one main room and then a bunk bed. That was it. And you guys still weren't married at this point. Again, you had divorced. You're still divorced. Kind of like, I mean, I guess you would say dating again, but you had 2 kids, and then time passed by with Enzo. Then whenever I was in 5th grade, we all decided to move to Texas.
Right, because at that point in time, you may have not have known it, but it was my way or the highway once again.
And you wanted to go to Texas.
So the highway led us to Texas.
Gotcha. Why did you want to move back to Texas?
Because I thought that was best for us.
It was just like an instinct thing. Like you were like, we need to move to Texas. Like,
yeah.
I mean, your parents live in Texas. They still do.
Right.
So like, did you just want to be near them, or like, did you just feel
comfort? I just felt like that was where we needed to go. And I was going to go with or without him.
Gotcha. And then he ended up choosing to come.
Yes.
You guys worked things out.
Because at that point, it was a little rocky at that point.
With the relationship.
Yeah.
You and Dad. So it was like, hey, if y'all were having problems, obviously, and then it was like, here's my solution to the problem. I'm moving. And if you want to come, that's your choice. If
Correct.
Not, sorry.
Yes.
So, yeah, so he ended up, it was her way or the highway, and the highway led to Texas, in which they both went. So
yes.
They went to Texas, and we lived there for 2 years. So we lived with my Mimi and Papa, my mom's parents. We lived with them. The money wasn't super consistent or like sustainable, right? Like it wasn't just like this great, like easy to handle have money. So we lived with them. And then after living in Houston, north of Houston for 2 years, my dad ended up getting a job offer back in Louisiana, but not where we were from. So this time it was North Louisiana, and it was a better deal, right? Like we were just going to guaranteed more money. And we were like, of course, let's take it. We just figured stuff out in Louisiana. We moved to Texas for 2 years. During those 2 years, my mom gets pregnant again. So here comes child number 3, Lucas. He's born in Texas. He's the only one in our family that's been born in Texas. After Lucas was a year old, we ended up moving to North Louisiana because my dad got a better position offer. We all pick up, we moved to North Louisiana, and here starts my 8th grade year. So after, finding friends, and it was a really hard time for me, actually.
I wanted to move because of that hard time for you.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like this is not working. Like,
no, things were just not.
Because of the bullying or whatever, I wanted to try to help that in a way.
So we ended up moving back to Louisiana, where we're from, but it was North Louisiana this time. So during that transition, I remember we moved in August. We moved to North Louisiana in August, and not even a few weeks after that, we started school. Remember? Mm-hmm. It was like right after. So it was a really hard time for me because I just left where I had started making friends at and had to pick up and do it again. And it was a completely different area. So I didn't know. It's not like I was moving back to Lafayette where I knew people. It was like a new area where I knew nobody. We're now in North Louisiana. We ended up getting an apartment. Remember, we lived in an apartment for a good while because we couldn't find a house. Lived in an apartment. I started school 2 weeks, not even, maybe a week after. We all go up there, look at this school once, choose it. We had a week and a half or 2 later, I start.
Lounge chairs for our furniture.
Yeah. No, literally, like not lounge chairs, like
garage. I mean, outdoor chairs.
Like outdoor chairs, like pool chairs were our furniture. And like our dinner table, everything was
I don't think we had, did we have a dinner table?
No, we had one of those plastic tables.
Okay.
And I start school, and then literally, what a shit show was that first year I went to school somewhere new. It's so crazy because it happened every time I'd move.
And I was like, what am I doing?
I remember I was getting bullied again because I had Uggs, but they weren't Uggs.
They were Bear Paw.
They were Bear Paw, which is still a great brand. Like now that I still love Bear Paw's amazing. They're so soft. But people didn't know Bear Paw as openly as they knew Uggs, so they saw my Bear Paw shoes and they literally like bullied me. Like, you can't afford real Uggs. Like, that's embarrassing. Like, so mean to me. I remember I was like crying when I got home and I was like, I can't wear these to school anymore because everyone's making fun of me that I can't afford Uggs. So like my mom, being the sweet mom that you are, was like, we're going to go buy you Uggs so that people aren't mean to you anymore. She literally bought me to buy Uggs like that day. I remember we went to the mall and she bought me Uggs so that I wouldn't get bullied anymore about that. They were like $200 Uggs, which was like not cheap for us, you know? What made you want to be okay with spending that on me?
Well, I wasn't okay with it. I just put it on a credit card and did it that way. Purchasing the Uggs was not an expense that we could afford at the time, but I did want to do that for you.
I'm very thankful for that. And I know, I mean, obviously that, you know, you didn't want to see me upset about that or hurting about that. And even at the time though, I remember that was like a big deal for you to buy me those brand new Uggs because like, for the longest
I didn't even
time,
have that. Like, a part of it is parents feel guilty. Like, I feel guilty that you're at a new place, a new school, and people are bullying you, teasing you. Like, there's some kind of a guilt that comes with that, you know?
Yeah. No, I understand that because it's like you feel...
So you have to try to fix that.
Yeah. Well, because it's like forever. For like so long of our life, we shopped consignment, you know, like resale. Like, it was like we go to all these places that did like resell clothes or people would sell their clothes to these places. And like, it was never... I didn't ever think anything of it, but it was like the more I grew up, people would like point it out almost, you know?
Yeah. And that wasn't something that, right, we bought those brand new. I remember like going to Dillard's.
And everything else we had ever bought around that time, the Bear Paws were like resale.
I knew there was no time for that. Like, there was no time for me to shop for them secondhand.
Which you totally would have done. But it was like it was like I was just so upset about it and heard about that. You were like, let's just do it now. Let's get them. So we did it. We got the shoes. I ended up, you know, people were becoming nicer as time went by, and I was kind of finding like my friends and like groups. And obviously I had friends, I had relationships. And then after that, I think during my high school years, you guys ended up getting remarried. Yeah.
Yes. January 4th of 2017.
Interesting. So I didn't even know that until recently, actually. Probably like within the past year or two, I found that out. Which
like,
I mean, it wasn't.
How did you find that out?
Why do you need to know?
Did you go through paperwork?
No, I didn't. I just know things, Mom. So you guys got married when I was in high school, remarried, and then Enzo and Lucas pretty clueless about all the entire situation. So whenever they hear this, I'm sure they'll be very shocked. But I ended up graduating high school last year. So I was a 2019 graduate. I moved to Baton Rouge. That's where I went to college. So I was going to go to LSU and study broadcast journalism. So after I graduated, it's almost an understanding that you guys were going to follow me to college, right?
I guess when you don't have anything to lose, like you're okay with moving. And I was trying to weigh the ins and outs of the cost in my head. Like, if we move there, she can live with us and go to college, and we can afford that, because I'm always thinking of long term, the cost of it versus how much it would have cost to pay for a dorm, you have to buy like a meal plan. So a lot of that, like, there's a lot of cost in that. So I had to outweigh us moving or spending the money on all that other stuff.
Luckily, I had scholarships, you know, and we were weighing the costs of like my parents staying in North Louisiana or just everyone moving. And it just made more sense for everyone to move regardless. We were closer to family, and then they could obviously annoy me longer. So it was perfect medium, right? I ended up, you know, meeting people on campus. I had already known a few people from different cities that I had known, like mutual friends, things like that I kind of knew in college. So around this time was the same time that I was like really starting to be active on TikTok. I downloaded TikTok in July of 2019. We moved to Baton Rouge probably the end of July. So right after I just started blowing up on TikTok, which was, we didn't even consider it like blowing up. Oh my gosh. Cause we just didn't know what it was or like what it held. And ended up moving to Baton Rouge just like normal. I mean, it was just kind of like we were just continuing to do what we had planned to do, which was move to Baton Rouge, me to go to college, you know, go from there. So I went to orientation week, and I remember people started noticing me at orientation week, and they were like, oh my gosh, my sister follows you on TikTok. And I was like, what? This is odd. Okay. Like, what does that mean? So I literally have a video of me hitting 10,000 followers too. It's so crazy. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, thanks. I guess, I don't know. That's weird. Like that you recognize me from something other than like knowing me or knowing of me from a mutual. So people were like obviously starting to recognize me as that and like saying, oh my gosh, she has so many followers on this app and she's big on this app. And it kind of progressively became a thing. And then I ended up getting an email from Famous Birthdays, which is like this website. It's like, does like celebrity birthdays or, just known people that have followers. Usually like people that have a certain amount of followers, they get on this page and have like their profile. And I ended up getting an email from them that's like, hey, we would love to have you in our building and do an interview. And I was like, what? And I was like, Mom, we have to go to LA. And they were like, are you somewhere close? Like, can you come to this interview? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm like 5 minutes away. But I was obviously kidding because I was in Louisiana. So my mom and I booked a trip. I missed like 2 days of school. I think I missed a Friday and a Monday. And we went and we were like, let's just do it. Like, who knows what this is? Like I'm obviously gaining followers on this app. I think at the time I had 300,000 followers until finally I was like, Mom, I need to move. We kind of went back and forth for a while on it, like it was cause Dad was for sure hesitant, Dad was like, I don't know, Addison, like we just moved come on. Like we just all moved here for you to come to college at LSU. Like what are you talking about? And, it took him a little bit of convincing, but I think after a while he was like, you know what? Whatever, if you really believe that you're going to do this and you're going to make it work and you have a plan, do it. I believe in you. I trust you. Both of my parents were insanely supportive about it. So I ended up being like, all right, I have a friend. I'm going to live with her. Wish me luck. Peace out, guys. So I literally got on a plane, moved all my stuff to LA, and there I was. I lived in LA for about a month until I was like, all right, looks like I can't do this without my parents. So I called my mom and dad on the phone and I was like, immediately move out here, please. So they did just that. I said my way or the highway, and they chose the highway and they came to LA. Actually, they chose the skyway because they got on a plane, flew out, found a house, and moved here immediately, probably a week or two after me saying I need them here with me. After, they moved out here in January with me and we all found a house super quick. Then, the rest was history. When we moved out here collectively as a family, that's when things just really started skyrocketing. And I mean, it's true. The rest was history. Here we are filming a podcast, which is also really crazy and bizarre. So, along with everything we just spilled to the world, which is very weird because we don't really talk about, this is stuff that we've never, I don't think me and you have talked about these things.
No.
Like, we just don't sit down and talk about them. But obviously our life has been full of ups and downs, ins and outs. Obviously, we dealt with a ton of things that, people don't really know or not really, even my friends, all of them know that, this kind of stuff. So this is pretty personal stuff. But I think, it's definitely fun to be able to talk about it and share with you guys and kind of give you guys our experience on things and like how we got where we are today. And that's why once again, I think we're both so grateful for everything that we have right now in this moment because of what we've gone through to get here. And there's been so many things, and luckily now we have our family all together. We have me, you, Dad, Enzo, Lucas, all of us just in one place, doing our best to just make things work and kind of following our dreams. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back next week with hopefully another great episode.
You can find all episodes of Mama Knows Best for free exclusively on Spotify.
Don't forget to follow the podcast and we'll bring you a brand new episode every week.
And if you like this show, follow @Parcast on Instagram and @Parcast Network on Twitter.
And if you guys have any questions or topics that you guys want us to talk about, you can tweet me @WhoIsAddison or find me on Instagram and DM me @AddisonWright with 2 E's at the end.
Or me @Sheri Nicole, that's 2 E's at the end, on Twitter and @Sheri Easterling on Instagram.
Mama Knows Best is a Parcast Studios original. It is executive produced by Max Cutler. Sound designed by Kristen Acevedo. It's produced by Kristen Acevedo, John Cohen, and Jonathan Ratliff. Mama Knows Best stars Addison Ray and Sheri Nicole. Thank you guys again for listening. We love y'all so much. See you next time.